40 years. 4 entire decades since Hungary last made a FIFA World Cup. It was before I was born. That's how long an entire nation has been waiting to see their national team participate in a FIFA World Cup playoffs. And this was the perfect opportunity. Not only did we get a relatively manageable qualifying group with Portugal, Ireland, Armenia, it would have been enough to reach second place to automatically qualify, because for the first time in world history, the World Cup now includes 48 teams in the playoffs. That in itself is a huge help for Hungary, because we always seem to finish third, or even if we finish second, we needed to go to the qualifying playoffs, where we eventually lost to another second place team. But this time around, we could have finished second and would have automatically qualified, traveled to the United States. And to be honest, we did every single thing right to make it happen. The players were logged in. The coach was logged in. We got the results. We chased Portugal into a very narrow 3-2 win for them. And then when we went to Portugal, we forced a 2-2 draw with them. It's Portugal. They beat Armenia 9-1. And we managed to hold them to a 2-2 draw. Because this was the best Hungarian national team that I've seen on the field. The best generation. And we played like it for the most part. We beat Armenia both times. It wasn't pretty, but we did it because that's what we needed to do. And in true fashion, at the very last second, we just threw it all away. Because going into the last game day of the qualifiers, we were in second place. All we needed to do was force at least a draw in Hungary, in Budapest, against Ireland. And the only reason Ireland were even in the picture still was because they miraculously beat Portugal. Because Troy Parrott is apparently the one-man Irish show. They came to Hungary believing that they can get a win and snatch that second place from Hungary. But we were desperate to not let that happen because we played well. The first goal, Szoboszlai corner, headed into the goal. It was a great set piece. And it was not the first assist from Szoboszlai. He was the player that deserved this the most. Behind him was Varga, because he scored as well, an absolute banger against Ireland. After they got a penalty and equalized, it was an unfortunate penalty, and I can't even blame us. I think it was Salai. I can't blame him because it was an unfortunate contact. It was just, he was going for the ball, and he even pulled his foot back saying, oh shit, I didn't want to touch him, but he did. And it was a penalty, and it was scored, and it was 1-1. But that 1-1 result would still have been better for us. And then we didn't settle for it. Milos Kerkez, who's probably the best left back we've had in years, certainly within the last 40 years, he brings the ball up on the left, swings it in, Varga chests it down beautifully outside the box, and then just turns, wraps himself around the ball and smashes it across goal. It was a beautiful shot. That's the kind of stuff that we want to see. And we were 2-1. And we were not sitting back. We were creating chances, but we were tight at the back at the same time. So it was just a great tactic. And it seemed like it was going to be enough. But the closer we got to the win, the closer the reality of going to a World Cup became. We just did what we do best as a nation and just freeze. It was one mistake, one ball over the top to Troy Parrott, yes, you guessed it, who takes the ball down. That was a very good control. And then just lifted it over Dibus, who came out 2-2 in the 80th minute. And we had 10 more minutes. And it was still Hungary that were going through at that point because it was 2-2. And all we had to do was hold on to the 2-2. And still we pushed for it. And still we pushed for it. We went to grab a goal, to grab that 3-2, which was the best thing that we could have done because it was the perfect mentality. And I think we need to raise our hats to Marco Rossi in that moment because he's like, no, we're not going to settle for a 2-2. We're not going to give them a chance to score a third. We're going to go for it. And then we kept creating chances, but we just couldn't score that third goal. And then came the 93rd minute, where Marco Rossi probably made the biggest, most costly error that he could have made. He made a substitution in defense and brought in a guy who at that point had not played for more than a year. Why would you do that? Why would you want the last 3 minutes with a guy on the field who hasn't experienced this pressure likely ever? Why would you do that? Why would you put that on him? Yes, you can say every single person who makes the national team deserves to be there. And I'm not saying that Mochi didn't deserve to be there. All I'm saying is that you can't ask somebody who hadn't played at that point for a year to go in and secure us the draw. Because that pressure is not easy to carry, even if it's for just 3 minutes. But Marco Rossi thought he could ask that of him. And unfortunately, he was wrong. Because there was another ball in behind the defenders. Once again, Troy Parrott, the hero of the game from an Irish perspective, he gets the ball next to Mochi, who was just not strong enough, not present enough, not sharp enough. And Troy Parrott just somehow poked the ball past Dibus into the net. 96th minute. And Ireland went 3-2 up, which also meant that they took second place from Hungary. And it was heartbreak because there was no more time. There was literally no more time to do anything. And when the referee blew the final whistle, it was just silence. Me, in myself, I was not angry. I was just dejected. I was sitting there in silence, thinking that we did the most Hungarian thing that we could have ever done. We beat ourselves. Hungary did not lose to Ireland. Not even to Troy Parrott. Hungary lost to Hungary. Because when the pressure is great, when it's all on the line, we just collapse. And once again, I think the team handled it very well for the most part. Because we got there. We got to the door of the FIFA World Cup. But it took maybe 2 mistakes. And then everything we built up came crumbling down. And now we have to wait another 4 years, at least, to finally make a World Cup. And there's no excuses because now there are 48 teams. Hungary is one of the better teams in Europe. In 4 years, this team will largely still be together. And the players like Mochi who do not have the experience at this stage will hopefully have the experience by then. So there will be no excuse next time for not making a World Cup. But for now, we'll sink just a little deeper in that dark black hole that we created for ourselves, where it's not the people that bear the responsibility for failures, it's fate that doesn't let us have nice things.